Well, good morning. There's no way I'm going to wait till 4:44 today. I've already been up quite a bit over an hour, hour 20 minutes or so, and I'm tired. I'd like to go back and get a little bit more rest before I have to get up again. That's been the way of it lately. But anyway, the title for today is Another Day, Different Issue in Court. Yes, I go back to court today in regard to the false arrest about a month ago, the one where I spent my first ever night in jail. I filed my Amicus Curiae and accompanying documents in this case, same as with my home. I wonder how many people realize what this is all about. As I see it, the courts are criminal enterprises using threats and force to create unlawful yet enforced contracts with the people, violating our natural rights and, oh, wait a minute, natural rights that are supposed to be unalienable, and extorting money from us. If more people would learn about the issues, which is not ever mentioned in the major institutions of the Matrix, we could stop the criminal practices forever. However, most people are so well programmed in the Matrix that seeing the bigger, more important issues is still statistically rare. Anyway, I will do my best. Loving support is always appreciated. Yeah, people do not yet understand the nature of what's happening in our world. In fact, they see people that are standing up and telling the truth. Many people see us as the enemy. They see us as the people that are against law and order, when in fact, if the courts would keep the law, we would be the ones winning. But they don't keep the law. They don't even obey their own rules, because the rules give us viable ways to address issues of injustice. But they are generally ignored within the courts. The police are trained poorly. They are trained to violate rights instead of uphold and defend the Constitution and the rights guaranteed in the Bill of Rights and in the various state constitutions as well. They are trained to see the people as enemies, especially those who are seen as sovereign citizens, those who stand up for their rights. Now, as I shared in the videos around the time of that arrest, due to the fact I was stopped because my taillights were out, for those of you that remember, or for those of you that didn't listen to that part. And when I presented my UN ID and my international driving permit and my Swiss Indo papers that were for global immunity, diplomatic immunity, because I am a peace delegate, remember. I'm still a peace delegate. Those were ignored, and they went and they ran my name and determined that my driver's license had been suspended due to the failure to pay a fine, which I didn't believe that I owed. And that's a long story. I'm not going to rehash it here. But in any case, I spent my first night in jail, and today is the what do they call it? I have it here, right fairly close at hand, I believe. Yes, it's called an arraignment hearing. Here's the paperwork on it. And I did file my Amicus Curiae, which is a friend of the court, with a memorandum of law. If they would obey their law, there would be no case. First of all, and Kate of Gaia is right, it's my name in all upper caps, the state of Florida versus my name. Well, this, my birth certificate, is actually what the state created with the same letters as my name, but in all caps. Although on my birth certificate it's upper and lower case, surprisingly. And my original birth certificate is handwritten, and it's a mixture of upper and lower case, but some uppercase in the middle. It's got, it's just the way the Dr. Brescia wrote it. But in any case, or whoever created the document, it's signed by Dr. Brescia, the doctor who delivered me and my four brothers and sisters that came after me. The last sister was delivered by Dr. Van Zant, if I remember correctly. And that was at a different hospital than the other 5 of us were born in. In any case, that is a legal fiction created by the state because they created a system of extortion, putting us up as collateral to the national debt in 1933 to the international bankers. And as I've said before, and as I've talked with the ambassador and others, all debt is unlawful because the wealth of this planet belongs to the people of this planet. But it's been perverted. It's been twisted so that everything is other than what it should be. And nothing is really based on law or truth. It's all based on lies, deception, fraud, and coercion. Everything is coercion. When I stood before the judge back in 2012, the first time, and they wanted me to make a plea, they were trying to coerce me. And he said, "You're damn right I'm coercing you. You're damn right." He didn't even try to hide it. They were trying to coerce me into a contract that I didn't want. I didn't want to plead guilty, not guilty, no contest. What I was pleading is no contract. I don't want a contract with you. They forced me by threat into a contract. That's how they operate. And everything I signed with all rights reserved. In the recent issue, I signed everything, all rights reserved, UCC 1-308, which means that this is obtained using threat. It's obtained under distress. I'm signing this, but I'm under distress when I'm signing it. I'm not creating a legal contract, a lawful contract. And I've stated that in the affidavit supplied to the court that I'm going to today. I've never been into the 19th Circuit Court. Usually everything has been in the 18th Circuit Court locally, or the appeal court, or the federal court. I've not been in this district court with Judge Cliff Barnes, acting Judge Cliff Barnes. Now, we know that they're not judges. See, most people don't realize that these people are playing a role. They're actors. It's a fiction. They are not judges. They are administrators of the court, which is not really a court. It's a bank or a ship. And once you cross the line, once you open that gate, you go into the ship and you're no longer on land. You're on the sea. And you're under admiralty jurisdiction, which is determined by the fringe around the flags that are displayed in the court. You're now in military court, admiralty court, which you have no rights. As I've said in other videos, you have no rights there. So it's important that you establish that you are not the birth certificate. You are not the individual that they have the case against. It's important that you establish that their court is not of a proper jurisdiction, that you choose to have it moved to equity court or a common law court, because common law is the law of the land, even in Florida and in all states of the United States, and actually I think in all British Commonwealth nations or former British Commonwealth nations. This is the law. Now, I don't know about the ones that were not attached to Britain at some point, but there are general rights that are ours, that are unalienable, that are ours by birthright. They are natural rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and even property rights, to be secure in our homes where we're living. Whatever home we choose to live in, we need to be secure. We have the right to trial by jury of our peers. We have a right to due process of law. We have a right to not testify against ourselves. We have a right to travel. We have a right to exercise freely our natural abilities as human beings without interference from anything called the state. But everything in the matrix is now a control mechanism. It's a control grid. And I, for one, have been raising my voice for a long time to try to extricate myself and others from that control grid, to wake people up to the realities that are going on. This is my job. This is what I see as my mission in life. And yes, I bring down the wrath of the system on me from certain individuals that want to keep the fraud and the game going, because they are doing very well in the game. And they might have to actually create and work for a living if they didn't have this fraudulent system in place where they could extort money and take other people's wealth that other people have worked for and created for. And it happens every day around the world in what we call courts, but they're not courts of law. They're not courts of truth. They're not institutions of justice. And I know this going in. You're supposed to know your enemy. So I have prepared myself as best I can prepare myself to be knowledgeable of the issues that are involved, to be knowledgeable of the paperwork that I've filed, and that's another important issue. When you file paperwork that somebody else provides you, it's important that you understand the paperwork. Because I did some paperwork once for a friend who was facing a foreclosure issue, and she was completely unable to defend the paperwork that I had prepared for her in court. And the judge was absolutely made a mockery of this woman, made her feel and look stupid because she didn't know what was in her own paperwork. And so I will never prepare a paperwork for anybody else again unless I know they have a pretty clear understanding of what they're about, because it only gets them in trouble. It doesn't help them. And that lady ended up abandoning her home to the bank, even though they did not have a lawful claim. It was another Bank America case where they were switching it to U.S. Bank and all sorts. These things are filled with fraud, and yet they get away with the fraud because most people never stand up. They do not understand that lawyers, or I should say attorneys, do not represent the people that hire them. They represent the bar, the British Accredited Registry. They represent the banks. They represent the government. They represent the system. And the judges in our courts here in Florida anyway, their oath is to the Constitution and the government. In other words, the government is the state. And so they have a judge that's a representative of the state, that's sworn to uphold the state, and the prosecuting attorney, which is the state. So you have the state and state against you that are the defendant, but I'm not the defendant. Again, the defendant is a corporation. It's not, it looks like my name, sounds like my name, but it's not me. It's not me. So I'm going to be standing in court today and doing the best I can not to contract with them, to exercise my sovereignty demonstrably, in other words, by demonstration, and stand up to the charges and hopefully have the charges dismissed. Now, what they generally try to do for anybody that stands up to them is they try to threaten you with arrest for contempt of court. But they cannot, by law, by their own law, by Supreme Court rulings, they cannot convert the exercise of a right or the claim of a right into a crime. And that's exactly what they do with the contempt of court charges. They are taking your standing in truth and standing up for your rights. They are taking that and twisting it into a crime called contempt. But they have no valid, lawful way to do that. That is just simply an unlawful procedure, but it's what they use again and again in the courts. So I do ask, as I said at the end of the thing, I do ask for your loving support, and by that I mean prayers, energy. Let the angels go with me in court, and I do have one or two witnesses going with me today to observe. And anyway, that's my message for today. There's always anxiety whenever I have to go in court. It's like going into an enemy territory. There's nothing to me that feels more oppressive than courthouses. They are oppressive institutions. You've got all sorts of people that are armed, wearing badges and with tasers and other weapons. So it's always an unknown what kind of judge you're going to face and what kind of issues are going to be raised. And you've got to be prepared, and I'm as prepared as I can be. But I do appreciate energetically people standing with me. So that's my video, and by the time, actually I should probably put this up. I should probably put this up now instead of waiting until 6 o'clock tonight, which is the normal time that I would do it. Anyway, I'm going to go back and lay down, and I may or may not get up and get it online as quickly as I'd like. We'll see. We'll see what I feel like doing. So, namaste. Thank you for listening.